So let's say that I open a new file here. And in this new file, the first thing that I do after creating a new file is that I save it. So I go to this file and I go to this save, and I save this file. I would have to save it somewhere so that I can find it very easily. So that is why I have created a new folder in local disk E. Let's say that I have not created that. So let's say that we add it here. Coding level 2. Now I would try to save everything here so that I have everything at a place where I know it is, so that I can access it whenever I want. Okay. And I'm going to call it input and output. Output. So if we have to take some number from the user, we would have to use the input process. The input process is very simple. First, you need to identify the variable. What do you have to identify first?
Variable.
Variable. Now there are two words that we have to learn about again, but there is one only that we would start with. Variable. Input is taken for some variable. You can't take an input until and unless you have a variable for which you are taking the input. Consider it in an example that, hello Inaya, you're not listening, I'm watching you. Okay, so input is taken for some variable. Now see this example. You have to put a ball in a bag.
Variables.
Yes, what is variables? I'm explaining that. A variable is a place where you are going to store values. Okay, where you're going to store numbers, where you're going to store text. So that place where you're going to store these things that is going to be called a variable. And a variable can change its value in the program as well. So that is not a big deal. So let's say that you have to put 5 balls in a bag. But if you do not have a bag, you would not be able to put all those balls in the bag. So bag is a sort of a variable here. Balls are the values that you have to put in the variable. A variable must be present before you can put a value in that. Another example, if you want to cook something, see, if you want to
How are you?
Then I'm fine, I'm perfectly fine. Another example, let's say that you have to make a pizza. The first thing that you need is a pizza dough where you can put all your toppings on. So let's say that if you do not have that pizza dough, you can't place your toppings on the pizza and you won't be able to make a pizza. So that is the same example about a variable. A variable is a place where you have to put all your values that you want for that variable. And if you do not have a variable, you can't put anything into the program. So for any type of value that we have to put in, we first need to have a variable. And we have to learn about a variable's name as well. So we are going to call name of variable. It can be a letter or a word. You can write the name of a variable and represent it by a letter or a word. Okay? The bigger words that you write, it would make your variable to be identified more easily in bigger programs. So whenever you are writing a variable, just try to write its name properly so that we know what it is about. For example, in the previous example yesterday, what we did, we wrote the word total so that we know that actually in language, we know that total means all of them combined together. So that is why I wrote the name of the variable of that was adding the two numbers together as total. So that I know that this total is basically that variable which would contain or which would have the values, all of the values combined with them. So that is the place that we will call as total. Now, name of a variable can be a letter, it can be a word. If it is a word, it is more self-explained. You do not have to explain it very much. But if it is a letter, you might have to explain it to someone what this letter does or what this letter is about. But if you have written a complete word, that word is going to be more explanatory. Let's say that if I have to introduce a variable in which we have to find out total amount, so I can't write like that. A variable does not have spaces in that. Two words without spaces can also be used as a variable name. So if you have to write, let's say, this total amount, you can't write it separate, two different words having a space between them. That is wrong. So what you would have to do is you would have to combine them like that. Like you are going to write total amount, which is going to be wrong. And if you write total amount, that is correct. And if you write, that is also correct. But basically it can't have spaces in between that. You can't have spaces in between the variables. Fine. So let's say that we start working here. Can you tell me what is the variable here? What is the name of the variable here in this statement?
A number.
What is the name? What is the name of the variable?
Number.
No, this X here is the name of the variable.
Oh.
This is the name of the variable. Anything that you write before equal sign, that would be the name of the variable. First thing. Secondly, as you can see that it is written in a black color. So a variable is mostly written in a black color. So this is a variable which is written before equal and it is written in black color.
Teacher, he's on call. What? Teacher? He can't. He's on call because I heard a phone rang and then he answered.
Yeah. I was actually, I had to take that call. So that's why I muted myself and I stopped my video as well. So this number here that we are taking as variable, it is X. The name of this variable is X. We can change it also. Let's say that I create a new file here.
X, that's the shortest name ever.
That is one of the shortest. See, I wrote that also, that it can be a letter also. It is not necessary for a variable to be a word, but if it is a word, it can explain itself more clearly. Let's say that I can write number as the name of the variable. It is now more clear that we are taking a number. If I choose it as X or A or B or C or anything, it doesn't explain anything. So naming variables is like, you have to be careful in that.
Sir?
Use the words, it is more recommended than using the letters, single letters, because letters can't explain themselves. But if I write number here, it explains itself that this is a number that I'm going to take. Fine.
Sir,
Yes.
how can you open your same folder? Where do you open your same folder? Where is the desktop?
So I know some of the keys that help me in that, so that is not a big problem. Okay, number is equal to input. Now you can see that the color of input is a little different. It's in purple color, and the prompt note that I'm going to write is going to be write a number. It's in green color. It means that this is going to appear. This is a different part of this program. This is a different part of this code, and this is a different part of this code. So now we have three different parts here. Input, write a number. Print. Double of this number into 2. So I have written this code here. Now I have written only 2 lines. So the first line is number is equal to input, write a number, and the second line is print double of this numbers into 2. Similarly, we can write the whole table till 10 by copying this statement and keep on repeating it and changing the last this figure with 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I will show you how to do that as well. Okay. So let's say that we try to execute it and what happens after that. So in order to run it, I would have to save it first. Every time you want to run this type of code, you have to save it first and then press F5. It would start running if there is no error, but if there is an error, it would stop. Okay. So you can also see that there is this guy standing behind. This is my friend Abdullah, Ahmed Abdullah. So he is basically a student as well in my school, and he has come here today for the horse riding. But as there is a little, the temperature outside is a little higher, so he's waiting inside. So don't worry about the people running in the background. So let's say that we write a number 5, and now it is going to tell us double of this number is 55. Why is that 55? Doesn't it should be 10? Should it be 10 or 5? So here comes the concept of the second part that we had to learn about, that is data types in Python. Once you have represented something, once you have stored a value in the, taken an input of a value, let's say that I was writing this code here, which said number is equal to input, but I didn't tell that what is going to be input. I had my variable, which was number, but I never explained the program that if you take a value, you have to consider it as a number. See, I told you the earlier also that computers are not very smart. They are kind of a little dumb in that case. So now we have,
but computers are so good in addition.
Yeah, they are very good at addition, but we have to tell them to add. They don't add anything themselves. Similarly, you can see that I was trying to double the number, but it has wrote the number 2 times. Now I have to tell that dumb computer that I am asking about a number. I'm not asking about a character. So for that, I am going to use the data types. So the first type of data type that we have to deal is with the numbers. And whenever we have to write a number, we have to use int. Int means integer. What does int means? Integer. So the first data type that we are going to learn today, that is int or int. How does int work? Let's say you can see that the output here is 55. Now I won't do a lot of things, but the output would be 10 now. So for that, I'm going to write int. Sorry, that's big. I'm going to write small int. Put a bracket here. Put a bracket at the end also. press Control S to save it and run it after that. Now it asks me to write a number. I again type 5 and now it gives me 10. This is happening because now I have told my Python, my dumb Python, my dumb computer, that now we are talking about a number. We are not talking about a character. What it previously was doing, it was taking a number from me and was thinking that it is not a number, maybe it is just a character. So when I asked it to double it, it wrote it 2 times. Do you think that it is dumb enough?
That was very dumb.
It was very dumb, obviously. So when I told my PC that now make sure that you treat it as a number, so after that it has actually doubled it and write 10 for that. Now we go towards our activity today. So the activity would be the same. We are going to write a number and we are going to
write
multiplication 10 times table for that. Okay, we have to calculate it times table till 10. So we'll start with this one.
Times double to 10 is very easy for me.
At every stage, I'm going to explain you what I'm doing. Taking a number from the user. And at this stage, what we are doing, writing number.
So you don't want to you put this in the idle show. That's why you put this mark so it's red.
So this thing that I have put red here with the hashtag, they are all starting with the hashtag. These are comments. What are these?
Comments.
Comments are only there to explain what is happening in the program. They have nothing to do with.
That's only a part of a program, but doesn't send them to the real program.
Yeah, but they do not run or they do not disturb your real problem. So that's why I'm using that. I'm just explaining what I'm doing here. The first thing that I'm doing is writing a number x into 1, and I'm going to write it that way. Number x1 equals number multiplied by 1. And now I'm going to
multiply. Where is the x?
I will tell you why I have written that. Don't worry about it. Oh, sorry. So now that is number x2. So I'm going to write 2 here and multiply it with 2 here. Similarly, I am going to now multiply it with 3. I have copied that and I'm just pasting it now. Every way you have to now change 1 to 3. Now you have to change 1 to 4. Everywhere. Now you have to change 1 with 5 everywhere. And now you have to change 1 with 6 everywhere. I will explain you how this works as well after that. Now you have to change it with 7 everywhere. Now you have to change with 8. Now you have to change it with 9.
How do you do a multiplication sign?
It's with shift 8. Shift 8. Now the last step that I have to write change it with 10 everywhere. Fine. Now I will save it. Actually, I would have to save a new copy for that. So I write save as and write it as times table and save it. Now I would try to run it. Oh, undetermined string here. Have I chosen a wrong string? Okay. Number int input, everything works fine here. Let's just remove that unnecessary steps. So now it asks me to give it a number. So I'm going to give it a number. Which numbers timetable do you want to calculate? 13, 14, 15, what? Just tell me a number. Okay,
30, 30,
33,
30,
30 or 13?
13.
13. See?
13, that's still too easy for me to calculate.
Sorry, what?
15 more minutes. That's still too easy to calculate without computers.
Yeah, but you can use a complicated number also if you want. Let's say that I run it again.
So the whole table thing.
And now I have to write a bigger number. I would write, let's say 78. So the format is now very simple. 78 1 times, 2 times, 3 times, 4 times. So it's calculating any number that you are using. Let's say that I do it for 98. It is going to do that for that as well. So that is how this tables program is going to work for you guys. I will explain you once again how the steps are going and you would get to know that. So what we are doing here is that I have taken a number. I told my computer that this number is an integer. So I wrote int for that, put brackets around it. And in the int value, I put that input a number here. Or what I can do is just predefine a number for which I want to calculate, but this will help me to take a number from the user. Now this helps me to print something. I have told it to print 3 things. First thing, second thing, and third thing. So I have asked this PC to print 3 things. First thing was print the number that was stored by the user. After that, write this whole statement just as it is. So 2 steps are already taken. Now the third thing is after that it is going to multiply that number with the factor that we have, like first. So it is going to be multiplied by 1. If it is 2, it is going to be multiplied by 2. If it is 3, it is going to be multiplied by 3. And also if I remove all these red lines, you know that if I remove all these red comments here, still the program would work fine, absolutely fine. It would not have any problem. Okay. So this is a pattern for you to learn so that you can create your own times table program in which you can ask anyone to write a number and the computer is going to give you a times table 10 till 10 times table till 10 for that. So was that interesting to know?
Yes, and you forgot something.
I forgot something. What did I forget? Can you please tell me?
You forgot print number times 0.
Yeah, I forgot that. So if I
Zero multiplication
so
for me.
let's say that I add it here. Let's say that I add it here.
0 times 2 is 0.
So let's say that I add it here like that. And I write 0. And I write 0 here. And again I write 0 here, save it and run it. Let's say write 99 or 107 now. Yes, it now starts with 0, which gives me the answer 0, and after that it starts calculating the values for that. So how was that?
How do you do it? See, you see, before you put the shift 8 in the program, how did you make a time sign? Can you go back to the code?
I put X instead of using the times sign.
Can you go back to the code?
Yeah, I can, sure. Here you are talking about this sign.
Yes.
This is basically I have put X, the alphabet X
Okay.
for that. Yes. Who else wanted to go back to the code? Who wanted me to go back to the code actually?
I think nobody.
Okay, I'm stopping the screen sharing right now, and I'm going to send you the recorded lesson this as well, so that you can try and practice it on your own. First, I will send you this video so that you can practice it on your own. Fine. Thank you so much for joining in today.
Okay, thank you.
Bye. Yes, Inay, you want to say something?
Bye.
Yes, yes, please.
Bye.
Bye.
We have only got 2 minutes left, Inay. You can do that now.
मतलब उसने पूछा सवाल ना कि उसके बेबीज वगैरह है या मतलब क्या चीज है
Ayad, Raid, Nail, you guys can leave the class if you want because Inaya has to share something. So that's why I have opened this class. Otherwise, I would have closed it.